Hi, Tribe Builders. This is Tanya Rooney, and I'm really excited to talk to my guest today. It's interesting because I always start out with like how I know this person, and this is really funny. I just met her, like, 8 or 10 minutes ago, and but she came highly recommended from people that I know, like, trust. Kim Fitzpatrick, Stacey St. John, some of the people that are really awesome. Like, I started asking people like, who should I be interviewing, and somebody jumped right at this gal, and even in the tiny, like, 8 or 10 minutes I've known her, I'm already like, oh my God, I love this girl. So I'm really excited for you guys to meet her and to chat with her today about business and all things tri building stuff. So without further ado, Alicia Wright. Hi.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. This is exciting.
Well, I'm really excited to have you because, for the people listening, I typically have a conversation of some kind before I have somebody on the podcast. So I just got to have that with Alicia, and I had to stop her midway because I'm like, oh, we're totally on board. Like, we are so aligned. This is going to be good to go. So, yeah. So I'm just gonna already start asking questions. But why don't we start out with, like, why don't you give me a quick overview of the company you've built and like how it happened?
Okay, so let's go back to May of 2022. I joined Stacey's STR Success Accelerator coaching mastermind program. I had just before that lost a ton of money in a long-term rental. So I was so burned out from that. And so I was like, I'm going to pivot into short-term rentals, literally like the rest of the world. And then, and so in, when was it? November of 2022, I bought my little condo in Gulf Shores and launched that. And then I was like, wow, this is awesome, except I have no more money left. And so I was like, okay, how do I scale this puppy without, capital? Like, what do I do? And so then I was like, okay, co-hosting. Like, co-hosting makes sense. I know how to run a property. I know how to make it profitable. I just did this with my own. I can totally help other people too. And so I did it. It made sense on paper. I set up everything. Like, I did it to the T. I had my LLCs, my insurance. Like, I invested the time, money, all the things into building this business. And, I still have that business today. Um, but I quickly scaled, in 4 months, I added three co-hosting. It was like one co-host property per month, like right in a row. And I was like moving and grooving and planting seeds everywhere I went, hosting owner meetings, like for my market. Like, I was doing the damn thing. And then, um, I'm like in it and I'm like, Grant, like, let's talk about the fact that during this year that I was like hustling my patootie off, I gained 30 pounds. I was just like stress eating, stress eating, stress eating. Like, it was bad because I realized, like, for me, co-hosting was not it. And like, I would have never admitted it though. Like, I was like, I made this bed, I have to lie in it. So I'm just gonna go and hide in the pantry and eat chocolate and pretend like I love what I'm doing.
How did you tell me more about how did you figure that out? Like, did you just, come to terms with this, or did somebody point it out in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form?
Oh my gosh. And this is why having community around you is so important, right? So in Stacy's program, we have what are called accountability pods. And each month, the pod leader meets with Stacy. And we have this meeting, all the pod leaders come together. And then it was my turn. I was like, oh yeah, this person's moving and grooving. They're doing it. They're rocking it, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, awesome. Like, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, like just putting off sending out my mailers, to owners. Like, I was going to do direct mail. Like, I mean, I was like doing it. And she was like, okay, let's talk about that. Are you not sending those out because you don't want to send them out or because you're nervous to send them out? Is this something like how did she say it? She's like, is this something that you really want? And I was oh, like in that meeting, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I felt like I had permission to say finally, like put words to it and admit like, oh my God, I hate this. I hate this. And I think for me, right, it was like the stress of managing someone else's asset that just like for me, when I bought my condo, let's just say someone puts a hole through your wall, right? Like I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
that's pretty unfortunate, but I'm just gonna fix the wall and move on. When
Hmm.
it's someone else's property and that happens, I just felt so much more weight. And I was like, the people that I co-hosted for, this was like their second home. And so they they just they couldn't fathom like someone doing that, whereas like I came into it with like an investment mindset, right? So there's just
Yeah.
totally, we just saw our properties so differently, which is
Yeah,
fine.
they're
Like
like,
me,
how dare somebody do something like that to me? And you're like,
yes.
it's a house. It doesn't matter that much. You made, $30,000. Who gives a shit about the whole?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And so anyway, like after that call, I literally was like welling up. I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do." And so I sent Stacey a text afterwards. I said, "Hey, I have no idea what I'm gonna do next, but I just want to say like thank you. Like thank you for calling me out. Thank you for putting a mirror up in front of me and like helping me say out loud what I was feeling." Right? And so then she was like, listen, I'm up to my eyeballs. She's like, do you want to come alongside with me to, you know, to work with me? And I said, yeah, let's do
Yes,
it.
absolutely. Chance to
So
work with Stacey is amazing.
I know she's so fabulous. And so one part too that, I don't want to say like I was just another member of her community. Like when was this? This was I should have looked up when we did this. This was in 2023. This was
Okay.
mid 2023. I was trying to figure out what do I do when I have no capital. And Stacy, she doesn't do these anymore, but she did like a private retreat at her condo in Myrtle Beach. And it was like
Hmm.
me and three other people. And it was like 4 grand. And I, again, like zero money, $0. I had $0. And so then I had this one little bank account left over from college. And I'm not shitting you, it had $4,000 in it. And I was like, Dad,
It's meant
because
to
I had to
be.
my dad was like still on the account. I'm 33 years old. My dad's still on this like way old account. And I'm like, Dad, I need this money. I need this money. And so he helped me, like, I got it out. I went to this retreat, and I would say that was like, I didn't realize it at the time because when I went to that with Stacy, we were building out my co-hosting business, right? Like we were making slide decks for owners. We were like talking about how I was going to grow and scale. But really what that mastermind did for me is it allowed me to get to know Stacy on such a like awesome level. And I think that's why Stacy was like, she wouldn't have just said like, "Hey, come work for me." It was like we had built this relationship and so she hires like on her values, right? So she took a chance on me because I mean, I haven't said this yet, but my background is nursing. Like my background is nursing. Like it has nothing to do with anything that Stacy does. But she took a chance on me and I am like eternally grateful because she hired me based on like the feels, the common values that we hold, right? And so, I mean, the rest is history. Like it started off as like little things here and there. And now I am like a fully integrated person on her team. And people are always like, but wait, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a bridge. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I'm like the Swiss Army knife. I'm a bridge. I'm a multi-dimensional implementer for her. So, one of my first big projects was the STR Sisterhood. So she came to me. Stacey has a group called the STR Sisterhood, and she would bring in speakers to host like meetups and answer questions for folks. And she's like, hey, listen, like, I have this idea. I want to revamp the STR Sisterhood. I want to put it on Mighty Networks. And she was like, go. She just was like, do it, girl. And so I built that out last year, and now we're at over like 500 women in that group, and it's like so awesome. And so, I mean, I do all kinds of stuff for Stacey now. Like, I help with her community, like the Facebook groups, the accelerator, the sisterhood, like all of the things. And it allows me to like be this bridge between vision, like her awesome vision, and like actually bringing it to life, right?
Yeah,
So,
you're her implementer, really,
yeah.
is what it comes down to. I think that's really, it's really awesome. Can you tell me, like, what does that mean? Like, why did you join her group to begin with? Like, what was missing? What felt like you need? Why did you join it?
Okay. So I spent many, many a moons in therapy over this. But so I went into healthcare not because like I wanted to, right? Or I thought I wanted to. I didn't know what I want. I was like 16 or 17. Like, who the F knows, right? But my parents, so I graduated from college during like the Great Recession, right? And so my dad was like, you need to go into medicine or law because there will always be sick people.
Safe. The
Yeah.
safety. He
Yeah.
convinced you of the safe and secure
100%.
of that.
So, and it was totally like, I don't hold anything against him. Like, I learned so much, and like, I know that that all happened for a reason, right? Like, I'm so cool with that. But I remember working as a nurse and just looking at all these other nurses, and I was like, why do they look so happy? Like, this is not fun. It's horrible. Like, I would drive under the speed limit to get to work. I remember that. And
Whoa. That's an intense one. I've never heard of somebody doing that before.
yes, and my kids will tell you I'm such a crazy driver. So for me to go under the speed limit is like a whole thing. But okay, but that bring like fast forward. So left nursing after my second child was born. And then we decided that we were going to send our kids to private Christian school. Okay. That's awesome sauce, except it costs like 16 grand a year. And so my husband was like, okay, you don't have to go back to nursing. Like, that's fine. Like, he's always been like so supportive. Like, we paid for my master's in cash. And I'm always like, babe, it was just a $50,000 learning opportunity. That's a really awesome learning opportunity. And so he's always been so supportive, but he's like, hey, listen, I cannot do 16 grand a year on one salary. Like, I can't do it. And so I was like, okay, let's think about it. And so then we had bought, when my daughter was born, a long-term rental. And that was awesome. But I was like, it cash flows now. It cash flows like years later, right? But like in the beginning, it did not cash flow very much. And I was like, okay, but I need $16,000 like right now. And so then I, you know, like how so many people got into this. I was listening to Bigger Pockets because I was already invested in real estate. Heard Avery Carl's podcast, bought Avery Carl's book, listened to Avery Carl's podcast, like her own podcast, heard Stacey on Avery Carl's podcast, and then the rest is history. Like joined Stacey's group. But so to answer your question, it was like I was up against a wall and I was like, I need money and I need this property to make money now. And so when I ran out of money after I bought my condo, I was like, how am I going to scale this? Like, how am I going to really get that $16,000? And so that's why I said, like, co-hosting looked so good on paper, right? And I think that's one of those like lessons where you're like, just because something looks good on paper or it works for, all these other people, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And it doesn't mean it's the right path for you. And I think the sooner people realize that and they start just like, listening to what they need, like what do you need in your journey, you're going to be so much better off. Because I feel like working with Stacey was never part of the plan ever. Like, I mean, working with Stacey as like a student, but working with Stacey behind the scenes was not part of the plan, but it's so awesome. Like, I love it. And so this like very weavy, weird path led me to this place that I did not expect and probably doesn't fit everyone's mold, but it works. It works for me.
Yeah, actually, I think this is funny, and I've been smiling and chuckling this whole entire time because I have a very similar story in the fact that I didn't really like flipping houses. I got into flipping houses because I wanted to get out of my job and because I wanted A, B, C, D, E, F. And it got me A, B, C, D. I got to leave my corporate job and everything. And then I finally had a point where I had to get permission from somebody to stop flipping houses, that it was okay to stop flipping houses because I didn't like it. Because I kept dwelling on, well, but I just spent all this money to learn how to do this. I just did this. It's like I would make more money on my 10th flip, on my 12th flip, on my 15th flip, not just my first, second, because first, second, third, fourth, even fifth flips, you'll make money, but, the likelihood is it's different, I guess. Like, you'll make more money as you keep going in there. So I think it's really interesting that, we have a very, very similar path and we have a very similar, like, well, this was a learning opportunity in lots of different ways. And just because it works for somebody, one person doesn't, yeah, I completely agree. I tell people all the time about co-hosting. I'm like, if that's your jam, that's so cool. I don't want to co-host. I have zero interest in co-hosting. We have our 4 properties and we love it. I love it. I like getting to do that. I like being in that portion of real estate, but I don't want to co-host for other people. I've been asked a couple times and I'm just like, nah. And I know that about myself, that it's just not interesting to me. So I love that you figured this out and you figured out like, well, I want this and I want that. And just because you left nursing didn't mean you assumed you would never have a job ever again. It was, whatever's the right thing when it comes up. Like, that's the beauty of life, is like finding out about people and then wanting to spend more time with them. It's really cool that Stacey chose you, but you also chose Stacey in lots of different ways. Like, yes, she is the CEO of that company, but you had to choose to be there too, and you chose to show up in her group and to find her and all of those things. And I think that's just super beautiful. And it's funny because my next question was going to be, talking about like a seemingly random connection. And I feel like you kind of just talked about it, like seemingly random, that you would find out that Stacey even exists on a podcast, you join her group, and now you work with her. Like, that's, obviously it feels like that unfolded the way that it was supposed to. And I'm kind of assuming that you're still doing stuff after a couple of years in the group and you're going to continue to do so. Like, is that the path you see for the next few years, as you want to implement?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, like, I would love to acquire more property. Like, I would love to grow my co-hosting portfolio, but for me, I really wanted to build legacy and personal wealth through my own owned properties versus like, co-hosting can be so awesome, but I kind of realized there's 2 ways to be successful. It's like you co-host a few very high value properties that, cash flow and That is awesome. Or you do what Stacey did and you get an army of tiny studio and one bedrooms, and then you build a VA team, and that team manages all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I was like, I don't really like either of those options. So I would love, personally, like, I've really, I'm a little bit nerdy in a big way. And I've really liked being able to utilize AI. So I'm learning how to do more in that side of things. And then also, get better in my strategic growth and the marketing stuff that I can do for Stacey. But then also, I would love to buy more short-term rentals. So I'm in this unique position where I'm behind the scenes and also very much within it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it sounds great, honestly. Like, I've noticed a lot more lately as well that I've been reflecting on listening to people, and their tone and their body language, and your body language and your tone show that you love what you're doing with Stacey. And I think there's a ton of people that work for people that don't like it, that will never have a tone like you do. And I think that's a really, again, it's just really, really cool because you don't know what the hell the future holds for you, but I don't think you care. Like, it's more of like, yeah, but I get to do this thing that I really like doing. I'm enjoying my time. I get to hang out with Stacey. I get to do these really cool things and help her like think of these really cool things and then put them into play. So I don't think, it's a bad thing. And, like finding out how to do more real estate, it's just another question that you just have to learn more things about, which is
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah, totally. And I
um,
think too, like it's so much about being in the right rooms, right? Like putting myself, like aligning myself with Stacey also aligns me with all the people that she attracts, right? So again, I mean, this whole podcast is about building tribe and community. And it's like, that is it. Like, that is how you realize, like, you're not fucking crazy. Like, your goal, like,
yes, it's
goals are
totally
awesome. Yeah. Because, I have friends around here, like mom friends that pick up and it's like, oh, what'd you do? And they're like, oh, I scrubbed my floor. And I was like, I'm not, that's not,
true.
that's
Not
not
for
me,
me.
man.
Not for me.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, great. And so it's good to have, I mean, you have to have those people that are like, no, you're not crazy. Like, that's an awesome idea. And let me brainstorm ways for you to make it happen. So,
Yeah, I think it's a really healthy thing for you to say. You just your version of it is saying like, no, I'm not crazy. And I keep seeing it as, you have to put yourself around people that don't think you're crazy or think your idea is too crazy small. Like, that's another version of it because you're always going to surround yourself with people. Like, inevitably, most people that would ever listen to something like this do have people around them. There's probably some hermit style people that don't really like, they're never going to find me and that's okay.
yeah.
But knowing that the more people you are around that do stuff like this, the less crazy you do sound. I just came back from a woo woo weekend, and I say woo woo because it's just like I'm going through some spiritual or like metaphysical spiritual stuff, and I have been for like a couple of years. And being around like the kinds of questions I got to ask my friends this weekend, because they're also like, they're literally spiritual woo woo friends, the kinds of questions I can ask them, the weird stuff we talked about all weekend. Her husband would drop in here and there and he would just shake his head. He's just like, oh my God, this stuff you guys are talking about. But it's because nobody else, like, it's the same situation with real estate. I've got another friend that came to an event and she's like, oh my God, you guys aren't sick of me talking about real estate? And I'm just like, you're literally in a house with like 15 other real estate people. Like, literally, no. Like, you're going to an event that's just about real estate. All we want to do is talk about real estate. And if you are around the wrong people, they are going to be exhausted. They're not going to ask you questions because they A, don't know the questions to ask, and B, don't care what you have to say. They don't care. They don't want it. But the people that do want it, oh my gosh, do they want it? They just want to talk about all the things short-term rentals. They want to talk about event planning. They want to talk about woo-woo stuff, like whoever it is. And I think the faster you figure out that you need people around you, that you can talk about whatever thing that other people think is weird, you feel so normal and feel so excited and so aligned with like everything in life and just more satisfied. Like it's different. You don't like I keep thinking of the keeping up with the Joneses, that saying that everybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses. Well, if your Joneses are people that are like you already, like if you want to have a boat and a big house and like fancy stuff, completely fine. Like I don't actually care. If that's what you want, that's awesome. But you're probably hanging around with people that also want that. But if you keep up with your woo woo people, or you keep up with your short term rental friends, or you keep up with your landlord friends, like you're chasing things and you're having conversations that nobody else is having because you have a special bond between all those people, and it seems
No,
like you kind of put yourself in the middle of it.
you have to. I think so many people are worried about like, what will this person think of me? What if I ask this woo-woo question and people are like, that's a little bit crazy? Like I think it's very telling when you enter a room or when you leave the room, like, are you super drained or do you feel energized? Do you feel like inspired or do you feel like, wow, I'd rather like never do that again in my whole life? Like, and so I think too, the way that like, I just think as humans, we were put on this earth in need of community. Like, we were not supposed to live in silos. Like, that is why COVID was such a huge issue for so many people. We weren't supposed to be, like, we're not supposed to be. That's not how we were made to live, right? And so I think there's just so much power in like putting yourself out there and putting yourself in the room and listening to how you feel in that room.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really, really, really good lesson. I haven't heard people talk about it in that way of like, how do you feel in that room? Because you just kind of said it already earlier in this episode that you're like, well, I didn't want to do that thing. I dreaded it. I didn't want to do it. And it drained you. Like, I think, listening to your intuition, listening to yourself, listening to your actions in a way has been what's been so successful for you, is because you were driving slow to work, so you knew you fucking hated it. I mean, there were other reasons you knew you hated it, but still, you were driving slow to work. Like that was something you had to pick up on, that you were like, God, I hate this. And then when it came to co-hosting, you didn't send the postcards because you're like, I don't want to send the postcards because I don't want to co-host. And I think knowing those things is really, really important, and not enough people put stock in stuff like that. Because if you're not doing something, like I've got accountability clients all the time that I'm just like, hey, you're not doing this. Are you too busy, or do you actually not want to do it? I've come across so many people, and I've been able to dig that out of people too, that I'm just like, if you don't want to do it, it's okay. Like, what do you actually want to do? Because our everyday like action, whatever action we take will be the tell. It'll be the tell. If we're excited about something, we'll do the thing. If you're not excited about it, you're not going to do the thing. And yes, there is something to be said that there are things you do have to just do, but there's still a lot of things that it's like, but if you hate it, like you definitely don't have to go down that path. You don't have to be a nurse for 35 years. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think too, like, like I'm a person of faith, so I'm always like, God, like, will you just fucking tell me what I'm supposed to do? Like, what am I, like, what's the plan here, buddy? And
It's
I
not that
think
easy, Alicia.
I know, and I think people expect to just drive down the highway and see like a billboard that says like turn around, other way, like stop, meh, meh, meh. But it's like you were right on when you said like there are clues. Like I drove slow to work. I didn't send the mailers. Like if have people around you to point that out to you because you might be so in it, like you don't even know. Like you don't even know that that's happening. But so you have to have people around you that like recognize these signs, but you also have to take time, I think, to reflect. Like there was a lot when I was like, trying to figure out what was going on, what is my next step. Like there's a lot of journaling involved. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
gratitude involved. Like you have to be grateful where you're at, with what you have, with what's going down, and then, that can help propel you. And that's still like such a work in progress for me, right? Because like that type A overachiever that always is like, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Mhm.
I had a friend explain to me one time, like just this past weekend, it was so good. And she was like, I'm like, Carrie, how can I just be like grateful? I'm like, I was like, how can I just be grateful with where I'm at? Like, I have goals, like, I have things I want to do. And she's like, it's a head and a heart thing. And you can be grateful where you're at and still aspire to grow and dream bigger and do bigger and better things, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
absolutely.
yeah, and I think it's listening to those signs of like, what is my body telling me? What is my heart telling me? And getting quiet enough to like listen to that.
Hmm.
And then gratitude, like having great gratitude for what is going well, because chances are way more things are going well than not. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's hard to see that when you're like when you're so in it.
Yep. Yeah. There's so many things that it sounds like we're on like equally very similar paths of like, oh yeah. I feel like you're a version of a message. Because I just had this weekend where somebody literally was like, stop asking what's the right thing to do. Like, you know what's the right thing to do. You just have to fucking listen. And that's honestly, it's easier said than done sometimes. Like getting
100.
yourself quiet enough, like that could be really hard.
Oh,
But it's hard because we decided it was hard. You know, like
so
we
true.
decided, like it was something we didn't know or whatever. But okay, so I want you to think to a time where you were facing like a real challenge. It could be in
Mhm.
business, it could be health, something in hiring, or short term. It doesn't actually matter. But what was the situation, and how were you able to shift your mindset to turn it into an opportunity? So kind of like, how did
Mm,
you have a challenge and turn it into an opportunity with
yeah.
success?
Okay. All right, let's go there. Some of my close friends know about the duplex from hell.
Oh,
So in during COVID, I I live in an area that like kind of, I mean everywhere, right? But like especially where I live in Michigan, it like blew, like real estate prices inflated a ton. So this was before short-term rentals. This was when I was in the long-term rental game, and I was like, man, I can't buy another long-term rental in my market right now. I'm gonna go 40 minutes north to the low income housing and I'm gonna buy one of those. Wow, that was not my brightest moment. And so oh my gosh, we bought a dilapidated, it was $40,000,
oh wow.
and it didn't have electricity, it did not have plumbing. It had sewer that like flooded the basement. Like no one in their proper mind would have bought that, but I did. And then and so I was like, okay, so we are like, okay, let's do this and we're gonna burr it and we're going to run it out. And so, I mean, there were so many lessons learned in this, right? But it took so long because COVID like happened during this, and then my contractor, all his guys didn't work, like they didn't want to come to work, and so like everything took so long. So A, we went way over budget. B, I just expected my contractor to do his job, which we all know that you can't just expect someone to do their fucking job. And so then I hired a property manager like that didn't know the market, and I had, it was like so it finally finished. We get renters in there, and then she's late on her rent every month. So every month we put in an eviction. Well, every time you file an eviction, it's like $200, and so then she would pay up. Well, then I can't evict her because she just paid up. So it was like every month I was fine. So anyway, lost all kinds of money. And so we put it for sale, we sell it, take a loss, lick our wounds. And that's when we pivoted to short-term rentals. And I remember going into short-term rentals with this like, I mean, I still struggle, right? With this immense fear of like not being good enough, not being qualified, fear of failure. I'm like not what's what not not that I'm not deserving of success. That wasn't it, but it was like that I don't have what it takes to be successful. And because I failed at this, so I'm therefore gonna fail at all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something that like I still hate that stupid duplex, but I learned so much. Like I learned so much from that experience. And I guarantee like if I were to ever like take a property from nothing to something, I would be so much better equipped, right? Um, but
Yes, you would. 100%, you would.
and so it's just like this immense fear of failure that I think like people in this industry do not talk about failure enough. They're like, oh, I bought this property and it's like the most super duper property in the whole world and it cash flows in bajillion dollars. And it's like, okay, but like, can we just talk about like the property before that like fell flat on its face? Like, because that exists. And I think the more people know that like mistakes happen and you learn from them and you can truly use those experiences to like grow from your failures, it's like they're like not what did Stacey tell me? It was like that is not a stop sign for you. That is just a stepping stone to like your next level, like to your next thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
the original question, but I think I answered it.
Yeah, no, you definitely did. Don't worry. Yes, I think the learning experience is great, and I will, you know what, in the spirit of people should talk more about real estate failures, I'm going to tell you about a real estate failure real quick.
Do it.
So I don't know if this was my fifth flip, my seventh flip. Honestly, I have no idea. But we bought a house. It was just this tiny little house. It was a brand new wholesaler. He didn't know what he was doing, but somehow we got connected. And we did a lot of back and forth. He's a really good guy. He was just trying. He was really excited. And so I bought this house from him. Well, I don't have a construction background. I have a project management background. So that means like I was in charge of a lot of construction teams, hiring a construction team, and they manage the project itself. So when I got into house flipping, like it was just stuff I was learning. Like, I mean, we've learned a ton of things. We know how to do a lot more. We know how to do 70 to 80% of the stuff. It's just we don't necessarily do it. Well, this lesson is something I will take on every single project going forward. We bought this tiny little house. Oh my God, it was full. It was full of so much shit. So we had to get it trashed out. I mean, among all the things, we found like a whole entire makeup bag of tongue rings. And on the outside, a little kid put mommy's tongue rings. Like, I mean, wrote it. It's like the worst picture. I still have the picture of it. We found like all kinds of things. In the basement, there was a bedroom that 100% didn't have any ingress. I mean, I don't even think there was a window in the basement, but there was a bedroom down there with a padlock on the outside, which is always creepy when you find stuff like that. And then inside, there's all kinds of song lyrics all over the walls and stuff. Very clearly, I think these people got evicted because they were drugs. There's lots of drugs, but it sucks because if, some kids lived in it. So we bought this house, trashed it out, and then we're just planning to do kind of a quick flip. Honestly, it was like change around the bathroom so that it made sense. Put in some new cabinets and things like that. We ended up having to rebuild like a little porch area off the back because it was truly falling. Like we found out it like didn't have anything under it, and then my contractor calls me. He's like, "Hey Tanya, I like can't do some of this work because there's some stuff going on in the basement." So he called me over and like every one of the floor joists was rotted because whatever. I don't even know why, but just about every single one of them. And a floor joist, and like we were able to make it work, which was really, really great, but it was an extra $15,000, and most of that was wood because we had to get these huge 2x12s. We had to figure out how to get them into the basement. By the way, there was no windows and there was not enough clearance around the corner to even get it. Was so stupid. But we were able to figure out a way per code that we could put we had we had to buy double the amount of floor joists because we couldn't just replace the floor joists because of the way the house was built. So we had to essentially shore up the floor joists that were there. So we had to put like a 2x12 on both sides, and then we had to put new boards. What the heck are those called? They're like big, huge, like 4x4s or 6x6s. I don't know what they're called right now. Posts. We had to put posts so that could go in there. So truly, like, we were intending to make, 25 to 35,000 with this, depending on what it's sold at. I'm pretty sure we maybe made 5 grand because of that oversight. Like, it was a really big oversight, and it's because like I really just didn't know. Like, I when you flip houses, most people don't pay for someone to come in and do an inspection and stuff like that because you're buying off market, you're doing all these things fast. I could have been the person that just didn't do anything with it. Like, I'm pretty sure the city was just gonna like bulldoze this house, and I bought it, and I'm like, no, you're not. Listen here. So we had to redo all of that stuff. We made sure it was safe. Like, my biggest thing anytime I flipped a house was like, whatever it is, as long it's got to be safe. I don't care what it is. If somebody asks me, at closing, hey, can you do this, this, and this? Any of the safety items, I don't question. I always do them. And I was really happy that we had to do all of that because a single woman and her child were able to move into that it was a house they could afford because it was such a small house and not in the best neighborhood in the world, but not in the worst. So somebody got to live in that, but I did not make money off of that house. Like, this, I mean, maybe 5,000, and that's probably a stretch. I don't know that I actually even made that. And but I think the difference between calling it a failure and that, yes, I do agree, we do not talk about failures enough in real estate specifically. I think instead of calling it the failure, you had mentioned earlier, you called your master's a learning opportunity of $50,000. I would call that house like a $5,000 learning opportunity or a $20,000 learning opportunity because every single time we go through something stupid, we have the choice of letting it stop us completely in our tracks and never doing anything again, or not doing that type of thing to make money ever again. Or we can decide, okay, that was just a semester in college. Like, I remember telling my husband after that one specifically, I'm just like, that was just a semester in college and we're fine with it. It wasn't even a semester at a fancy school. So that's great because, we didn't have to pay $60,000. I know plenty of people who've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate, in one year and then the next year make a ton. But I think it's just important to point out that it's a learning opportunity every single time, whether you like it or not. The sooner you embrace the fact that things are learning opportunities, the better your life will continue to go up, and it'll be because we're just learning.
Yeah,
Like, it's amazing.
that's so true. And like something that I really hadn't thought about until you just said it was like, me with my duplex, like I remember it was like prostitution and like every time we went to that house there was like gunshots through the windows, so we had to replace glass all the time. Like, it was bad and we made it better. And like same with you, like you're making a home better, you're making a community better. Like, it was painful along the way, but like the world is a better place because we believed in a little piece of property, right? And so
Yeah.
regardless of, obviously we're here to make money. Like, let's not like joke, like let's not beat around the bush with that.
That's not
But
a
it's like,
sugarcoat. Yeah.
yeah, but it's like there's so many other things too that I think real estate does that like stocks can't do, like other like Bitcoin,
Mhm.
whatever, like whatever you invest in. Like, this really can like change people's lives. And not just your
Yeah,
life, but other people's lives.
I love that you said that because it just got me thinking about, one of the things I get the most offended about, or like I get really huffy about is when people yell at me for taking houses from people. Like, because I know that's a really big thing in short term rentals. Like, a ton of people talk about how you guys are buying everything up, nobody can afford anything. Fill in the blank of the 10 excuses that are very consistent. But if somebody ever wanted to listen to someone like me, I could tell them that story about how I essentially gave this house to this lady for, $100,000. I like flipped a house and gave her this house for such a small amount of money, and she now got to start a dream that she probably never even could fathom at one point in time, that her and her daughter were going to have a place to live for just themselves. If they asked me how much money I pay to my contractors, and my contractors, I'm saying my lawn person, my couple of cleaning people, my assistant, my inspectors, like, I mean, I paid out over $80,000 last year to them. So yes, I sure did take some houses off the market, especially my 6-bedroom house in the middle of the city that was sitting on the market for over a year. That was only students prior to that. Like, yeah, I definitely took that off the market, but I don't know how many people can afford a 6-bedroom house, because the people that want 6 bedrooms probably have a ton of kids and probably can't afford a 6-bedroom house mortgage.
Right?
So, that's like it's a really big challenge for me to think of when people, attack us as real estate investors, because there are some investors that really do have hundreds of houses, and I don't actually care that they have hundreds of houses. If that's what they want to do, that's completely fine. That's
Hmm.
the society that we live in America. But knowing that we're paying people out, like, I mean, I don't know how many people have, jumped down my throat that I have so many houses and that I'm a terrible landlord, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I pay all my taxes. I pay them on time. It's crazy. You won't find me on one of the lists, with the county saying that I'm not paying my property taxes. I paid for my cleaner 100% to work all year last year. Yes, she picked up other houses, but that was her only income otherwise. And there's things in real estate that we do that are actually really, really good. And I think that's probably the divisiveness that we're seeing, is just like everybody's just relying on one side, where there's really is two compassionate sides to every story.
100%.
And
And I think, like,
yeah,
especially with short-term rentals, like, we cannot be, cities, communities, legislators, whatever, like, they cannot be so short-sighted of, like, the tourism dollars that come into their cities when we make
yeah,
these awesome homes that people want to come visit. Again, like you said, like cleaners, like everyone in Gulf Shores, everyone that lives in Gulf Shores, where my condo is, pretty much works in the tourism industry in some
yeah,
form or fashion. So all of
hmm,
that industry, all that work, like there's so much work for those people, you know?
hmm,
And so
yep,
I think, again, it's like educating, right? And especially if
hmm,
you have good hosts. You vet your guests. You
yeah,
know, you take care of the home, you take care of the guests take care of the community. Like, it can. And one thing that's so cool about Gulf Shores, I don't love paying my 16% hospitality tax, but that 16% hospitality tax makes their schools awesome, their police is awesome, their parks are awesome. Like, they're like, eh, you can see that money is being put to good use within their
yeah,
communities.
yeah. That's something interesting I've never thought of. I've never heard somebody. I love you, Alicia. Because you've made me think about a lot of different things, like a different perspective, and that I appreciate anybody that can give me a different perspective. And yes, I pay taxes as well. We don't have a huge hospitality tax or anything like that, but we do have some. And you're completely right that that stuff does fund a whole entire community. So while somebody is angry that we're taking houses, and yes, some people do take a lot of houses in a neighborhood and maybe they shouldn't, but those people wouldn't have jobs without it. Those people's I mean, school systems aren't great in Alabama. They
Yeah,
really aren't. I
yeah.
know all about the fact that they aren't. And if you have a tourism like that you can put it towards things like that, like, it's not so bad. It's not so bad when you can get a different perspective. So I appreciate the way that you talk about it, and, you're the kinds of hosts that people appreciate and people like me appreciate, because that means if you're telling me this stuff, the likelihood is you've told at least 5 other people this kind of stuff. Most of the things that we rant about as short-term rental owners or as business owners, and I say rant, and that could be used in good or bad, most of the things that we're really, really like passionate about, somebody else has heard about, because we just like can't hold that kind of passion in, because we're just like, listen here, you have to listen to me. And we get onto our soapboxes, and that's just, it's
Well,
just
there's
what
just
happens.
so much good. And like, let's talk about the fact that like I am an average household. Like, my husband is not super wealthy. Like, we would not be able to have a condo at the beach if it weren't for the opportunity to rent it out. And my kids are
Mm-hmm.
always like, Mom, when are we going to the condo? When are we going to the condo? When are we going back to the beach? And so it's like, not only am I allowing other people to have memories in my space, right? But I'm able to have memories in my space. I'm supporting this, you know, community through the tourism. There's just so much good in this industry. I think again, like that you just see so much more than when you are like just investing in stocks or doing other stuff that's less fun.
Yeah, yeah, real estate is amazing. Like I know that we could digress into, if you said bigger pockets, I know we could digress into lots of conversations about real estate forever, because anybody that at least knows about bigger pockets knows about enough of real estate stuff. Because yeah, sometimes in the hospitality area, a lot of people just think they're hosts instead of real estate investors. And that's just a very interesting thing that I've had to notice, that I'm like, huh, that you're a real estate investor first. I mean, yes, you're hospitality as well, but you're not just a host. You're a real estate investor. And,
Yes.
the reason that we do this is because you're right. We do it to make money. We do it so that we can work a little less, or
Yeah,
work less at a 9 to 5 is really what it comes down to, or put our kids through school like you've been
exactly.
doing. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay. I got a couple extra questions for you. So the best advice never comes from like Aunt Karen or, childhood best friend Josie. What's a piece of business advice you've gotten from someone in your industry that really stuck with you? Something that like helped you level up or avoid a costly mistake, or just like move faster?
Actually, this is from Stacey,
Of
and
course,
this
because
was
she's like so wise. I love
I
her.
know she's so wise. She always has the words. Like she
She
always has the
does. She
words.
does. She's got a
And
magic wand that you're just like, where the hell did you pull that magic wand out from,
oh my gosh, I know.
Stacey?
I remember I was all stressed out about something, and she was like, "This isn't a problem. This is an opportunity for growth." And I wanted to be like, "No,
I
this
can
is a
hear her
problem."
voice. I can hear her voice right now. I can hear her tone. Can Stacey.
I know.
This isn't
But
a problem.
I used to be, so going back to nursing, nursing is all about seniority. Yes, you have to have skill, but it's honestly about seniority. The ones that have been there the longest get the best shifts. Like they get to work days, and all the things. And seniority just matters so much. And so I came from this world where my age was seen as a negative.
Oh yeah.
And I came into, what am I? 33 right now. And I remember starting in this, and I would be really uncomfortable. And I didn't want to tell people how old I was because I'm like, oh, they're going to think I'm a baby. They're going to think I don't know what I'm doing. And I remember she said, your age is irrelevant. Your age is 100% irrelevant to your success. And for me, that was like a very big aha moment of like, it that does not matter. Your age doesn't matter. And in actuality, for me, like starting younger was probably a great thing, right? Like so many people say, oh, I wish I would have started younger. It's like, well, I get that opportunity. And I don't have to say, I used to be like, oh, I don't, I'm so young, I don't have that experience. And it's like, yeah, I'm gaining that experience. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing it.
Yeah, you're putting in the reps. You're 100% putting in the reps, especially if you had a Duplex from Hell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
title.
God
That
bless.
chapter is a chapter, and that chapter helped you a lot. And that chapter would help you whether you're a 19-year-old investor, a 25-year-old investor, a 30, 35, 40,
Yep.
75. It doesn't matter. So
100%.
that's awesome. That's good. Good Stacey advice every time.
Mhm.
Um, okay, then the last way I want to wrap this up is I want to know what would you say to someone who's doing it alone? Like if someone is listening right now and feels like they're building their business in a vacuum or without support, without peers, whatever, what would you tell them about the impact of finding or building their own tribe?
Do it because like I used to think like I don't need anybody. I used to think that. Like I don't need that. Like I'm just gonna bootstrap it. I'm gonna figure out on my own. Like I do not need that. But it's like you will grow so much faster when you get into the rooms with the people who have done what you're trying to do. And I think of it now, like I was so scared to invest in Stacy's program. Like that was a lot of money for me. And but if you think about it, if you really think about it and you're like, I'm going to buy this property, I'm going to put down whatever X amount of dollars, but I'm not willing to spend this on coaching, like this like fractional amount. It's like that's silly. That's silly. And so it's like do it like find people that you trust. Find a coach that you trust and put yourself out there and ask the questions because someone else probably has the same question, and B, you are like we said at the very beginning, like you're going to feel way less crazy for wanting the things that you want. Maybe your neighbor next door doesn't get it, but I guarantee there's a whole universe here online that does.
Yes. I feel like that's the perfect way to go out. You couldn't say it. I couldn't have said it better myself, Alicia. I like love again, I just love everything about you. Tell people if they wanted to find you, if they want to hang out with you in some way, shape, or form. I wanted to ask you a question about fucking Michigan. Where could they find you? Besides connecting with me, because you could obviously just send me a DM, I'll connect you with her. But where would it be easiest?
Yeah, so let's see. So you can find me on Facebook, Alicia Wright. I am on Instagram. I think it's A Wright 119. That's my birthday, January 19th. A Wright 119. And Blue Palm Getaways at gmail.com is my email.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the time, Alicia. This was so delightful. I love your spirit and energy. Of course, Kim would connect us.
I
And of
know.
course, she would say the wonderful things she said about both of us in said connection. So I appreciate the time and, just all the things. Thank you for spending time with me today. It's
Thank
awesome.
you so much for having me. This was super awesome. And I can't wait for us to connect again because I know we
Yeah.
will.
Absolutely. There's literally no doubt. Awesome. Tribe Builders, thanks for listening today. If you had any questions, definitely send them our way. Otherwise, if you felt like anybody could use this kind of message, send it to them. Like, subscribe, do all the things on wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Thank you.